Hello friends, welcome to Decode with Anu. I'm very sure that you are going to enjoy this episode of our podcast. Today we are going to talk about Sant Kabir Das. Sant Kabir Das was born 500 years ago. His birth and his death has been very mysterious. He was found on a leaf on the banks of a river. A Muslim couple picked him up, and that's where he was brought up in the family in Varanasi. His father was a weaver, and Sant Kabir followed the tradition of the family. He recited dohas. What is the importance of these dohas? We are going to find out in this podcast. And one more thing I want to tell you. In 2019, I met Gurucharan Singh Gandhi, and he wrote this book, Kabeer in Korporates. I was quite intrigued by this book and invited him to be here to talk about the relevance of the dohas at workplaces and in life at large. Gurucharan Singh Gandhi, more than 20 years of experience in the corporate world, from the sales to human resources, and today he's heading human resources in fashion and lifestyle company. And besides this book, he's also penned down 2 more books. One, Echoes of the Gasping Souls. In 2021, it was published. And one more book was published last year, which is called The Tattoo Trails. Thank you for being here, Gurucharan. What inspired you to write about Kabeer in Corporates? Something happened, an event which impacted you, that you wanted to write about this and then put it out for people to know about the relevance of the dohas?
First of all, thank you for inviting me over on your podcast. Second of all, do call me Guru. Gurucharan Singh Gandhi is too long a name. There was no one large event that pushed me towards Kabeer. Many micro events ensured that I fall in love with the great mystic. Those were the times when I was toying with the idea as to what really is behind success at workplace. There is a technical side of things. There is an expertise side of things. But it was very clear that they are necessary but not sufficient. There is something more that is required. And all the management literature that I was poring over was proving to be good but inadequate. During those times, I happened to attend a leadership development program by my then company.
And this was in which?
This was 2010. And they talked about how human beings and their inner space makes a huge difference about how they come across, how the world experiences them, how the team experiences them, and how it overall contributes to building of what can be loosely called as leadership capability. I returned back, and as the power of serendipity would happen, I attended a Kabeer conference, so to speak, by a very renowned artist, Prahlad Singh Tipania in Delhi. And the penny dropped in my mind. I realized that a lot of what I had read in that program, in a very different language, in a very different way, was also being talked about by this mystic saint called Kabeer. I came back and I started to pore over all the literature available around Kabeer. Interestingly, Kabeer on one hand is found in books, and yet on the other hand is also found in the oral tradition from one generation to another. And then one thing led to another, and a raging affair of mine with Kabeer began. And the more I got into it, the more I realized what a atha samandar that this was. There was a phase where I spent time in collecting his dohas. Then I said, is there a book available here or lurking here which can be represented in the language of the 21st century, English, corporate, not the religiosity kind, but the modern kind, at workplace kind. And that's how the book took place. And I must say, in that sense, I don't think I discovered Kabeer.
He discovered you?
Kabeer discovered.
Lovely, lovely. How much time did you take to write the book?
It took 6 years to finish writing the manuscript. It took another year to search for publishers who were willing to publish it. Another year to finish editing and all the proofreading, etc. So I started writing in 2010-11. The book came out in 2016 or 2017. So yeah, 7 years.
What, according to you, that Kabir is very special?
There are many things about Kabir that makes him unique. See, Kabir was born in 2080-2090. We are in 2024, 800 years almost. And yet Kabir is being sung, listened, absorbed, appreciated, learnt from 800 years down the line. Something magical would be there in the man. From my eyes, 2 or 3 beautiful things about him. One, he cuts the chase and is brutally honest. He says things as he observes, without any hesitation, without the fear that you may not like it, without the fear that there is an established orthodoxy who may rubbish his words. The second characteristic is brevity. Whatever he has to say, he says in 2 lines. No large emphasis, no large pontification, no large essays. Simple 2-liners, and he makes his point. The third speciality is he uses everyday metaphors. There is no complex, arcane jargons that he uses to make his point. He uses
examples.
Let's take an example. He says, "Lali mere lal ki, jit dekhon tit lal. Lali dekhan main gayi, main bhi ho gayi lal." There is hardly any big word. There is only lal and there is only lali. And he says the entire doha with these simple words. Almost all his dohas are simple words that common man can understand.
Yeah.
Maybe a last one. Kabir's speciality is he picks up issues that you don't want to talk about. He picks up issues that you have made complexes about. He picks up issues that somebody must talk about. And fearlessly, he makes his point. Maybe in my eyes, those are the 4 things that makes him special.
And while these 6 years that you were walking on the journey of collecting various articles and the writings of Kabir, one experience, did you go and stay somewhere, or did you do something and it just happened and opened, like metaphorically, the whole space for you, and then said, "This is something that I want to do," and put it out to the world?
No, you're absolutely right. Not only one, of which I will definitely talk about, but many such experiences happened. I discovered the Kabir festival that happens in Bombay, and it happens in amazing places, small bastis. I discovered that young artists who are less than 30 years of age are singing Kabir like a rock star.
Really?
Yes. There is a band called Kabir Cafe. Neeraj Arya is the lead singer. He sings Kabir in a very modern sound. But the most important one of them all was when I had the opportunity of going and living with Prahlad Singh Tipania ji. Prahlad Singh Tipania lives in a village called Lunya Khedi. It is near Indore. He's a folk singer, renowned across the world. There is hardly any continent in which he has not performed. Simple, humble human being. And I happened to live with him along with a bunch of people who were Kabir lovers. And for a week, all that we would do is talk Kabir, his dohas, do satsang, figure out the meanings of his dohas. He would explain. And it was one of the most mind-boggling experiences that I have ever gone. I felt that Kabir is a course mate. He's like a companion who is living with you, and not somebody who is somewhere up there whom we idolize. And I would like to believe Kabir would have liked that. Because Kabir never wanted him to be idealized. Actually, more often than not, he would criticize people who were in orthodoxy, who claimed too much of idolization. So that, I would say, in the process of writing the book, as one of the most beautiful experiences I had.
And one experience of yours while you were staying with Tipaniaji.
I think the biggest experience that touched me was he would sing, his son would sing, and his young grandchild would sing. Either somebody will be on harmonium, or somebody will be on the dholak, or somebody will be on something else. And the whole family, as if is Kabir lovers, they are Kabir bhakts. And you realize that Kabir is a way of life for them. Till then, for me, Kabir was cognitive. I was trying to understand Kabir. What I learned from that experience is, Kabir समझने की चीज़ नहीं है. Kabir तजुर्बे की चीज़ है. You have to experience Kabir in your soul. And perhaps only then will you open the gates that we have closed.
And if I may ask, how to do that? For our viewers who are watching, they would like to know, what does it really mean to make Kabir your way of life?
I wish I knew that answer perfectly. I'm also work in progress. But to begin with, I would say, read literature of Kabir or Kabir-like people. Try to go deeper into the inners of the meaning and the layers of his composition or dohas. Reflect, think, ask yourself, are you also in the same trap or not? Cross-check whether these are the games you are playing with yourself also or not. Kabir also talks about satsang, which means a group of people. So build relationships and friendships with people who are also on the same journey. You become mirror of somebody else becomes your mirror. Finally, whenever you lie about the games that you play, watch yourself, catch yourself and say, oh my God, this was a place I was lying to myself.
What is that thing that you, because I know that you are a speaker in few colleges that you visit, like today, I know that you were at SIMS. What stops anyone from self-reflecting?
I think there could be many reasons, but I think there are two big ones. The first one is, nobody has taught them the power of reflection. If you are young, unlikely people teach you. What does it even mean to reflect? People confuse thinking with reflection. Thinking is a cognitive process. Reflection is watching the mirror in complete nakedness of thought. So I believe the first big reason is nobody has taught people the power of reflection. If you cross this stage, the second reason is fear. People don't reflect because they don't know what they will find. They might find something that they are running away from.
Yeah.
So the easier answer is, I will not reflect.
True. Yeah. It's difficult to face your own truths, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's one chapter that you have written in this, the company you keep, and you mentioned about satsang. Yeah. What is the importance in today's world where social media has become your satsang? Yeah? And the company is social media. I see quite a few of them. The little bit that I know of the people, they are spending more time on social media, and it has its own pros and cons. But what Kabir says about the company you keep, what he talks about the satsang?
There is a doha, I don't exactly remember the full one, but it basically says that if a serpent spends time in the company of Chandan, the nature of Chandan does not change and the nature of the serpent doesn't change. So you have to be very careful in the company that you keep. The serpent will be glorified because it is in the company of Chandan, but Chandan will get vilified because it is in the company of the serpent. So if you are Chandan, be careful about whom do you spend time with. We eventually do absorb from people we spend a lot of time with. Our parents have constantly taught us the power of good company. And perhaps we are not given that advice as much attention as much as it should have been given. But if at workplace, if I were to say, you can make out in 5 minutes through the mannerism and the conversation content, what is the kind of people that you're spending time with? For example, there would be people who are completely immersed in their work. These are what I call movers and shakers in the workplace. If you spend a lot of time with them, chances are you'll get inspired by them. Then there are people who are living in their past glory. They were great at once upon time, but somehow they have slipped. If you'll spend too much of time, they will rub off their cynicism on you. Then there are people who frankly are passengers. They come, they go, they are at their bare minimum. If you spend time with them, frankly, they are not going to rub off any energy or enthusiasm or inspiration on you. So, the point that I learned from Kabir was, be very careful, even at workplace, even when you are an adult, about how much time you spend with what kind of people. You will pick up the same vibe that they have.
While you said about the company, there's this chapter which is very interesting, the nature of true passion. Yeah. So, and today, what do you observe? Because you are heading such a big organization, what are you observing? Is the passion there amongst people or it is not there? And the part that you have written in the book.
I won't judge a generation saying that their passion has come down or their passion has gone up. I don't think it is in my place to make that judgment. I would like to believe that there were passionate people hundreds of years back and there were people who did not find their passion then, and the same is the story now. But the question that Kabir asked was, how can there be a singularity of purpose? How can you become so obsessed with something that you give your best all the time? How can you fall in love with a pursuit that instead of tiring you, it energizes you? I was fascinated by his version of it or his understanding of it. Of course, his love was for the divine. I, however, interpreted it to say, if divine is what he wanted, fine. But if I want something else, can I also feel it that way? So I shared with you Lali Mere Lal Ki, but there are some other interesting dohas that he says. For example, in one place he says, Ik sadhe sab sadhe, sab sadhe sab jaye. Kabir mool hi siichiye, phule phale aghaye. If you want a plant to grow, water it only at its roots, only one place. If you will water it in one place, it will blossom. If you will sprinkle water all over, and enough water won't go in the roots, it won't help the plant. To me, it was a fantastic exposition of the power of focus. There's another dua, it says, जो एक न जानिया बहुत जाने क्या होए. If you haven't found mastery of one, what is the point of knowing too much or too many? एक ते सब होत है, सब से एक नहीं. If you master one and then one at a time, you will soon end up becoming a master of many things. But if you try simultaneously trying to master too many things, you'll end up doing great disservice to each one of them. Therefore, what did I pick up insofar as passion is concerned or insofar as focus is concerned was singularity. There is also a sarcasm linked doha on which he says, what happens if you try to do too many things?
What happens?
So Kabir's doha is...
This is like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, almost. But this came much before the English. Jo man laga ek so nirvair hoye. If your heart is on one thing, you will accomplish it sooner than later. Tura do mukh bajta, ghana tamacha khaye. Tura is dholak. It has two faces. If you have two faces, all the time you get slapped from both sides. But if you are focused on one, you will find him or find that purpose. Jo man laga ek so nirvair hoye. Tura do mukh bajta, ghana tamacha khaye.
Does purpose and passion go hand in hand? Did he say something about that?
I think so. Purpose is the destination. Passion is the engine or the fuel that will take you towards that destination.
Right.
A great car with great engine, great power, doesn't know where it is supposed to go or where is it headed, is of no use. The vehicle is useful to you only when the destination is clear.
Right. And quite a few of them that I have met, it's very difficult for them to find the purpose. Yeah. And sometimes the hobbies are also taken as passion. Something that you want to say on that?
No, there is no harm in considering hobby as passion, as long as hobby energizes you. I don't believe the outcome of passion must determine whether it is passion or not. It may fetch you money, it may not fetch you money. It may fetch you growth, it may not fetch you growth. As long as it is uplifting your soul, you're finding meaning in the act of doing it. You're finding happiness in the act of doing it.
Exactly.
You may label it as hobby, you may label it as passion, doesn't matter.
And that's how one would even know that this is probably the purpose that I want to work on.
There is another bhakti saint, Sufi saint, many years later than Kabir, Baba Bulle Shah. If you read his poetry, one interesting thing that he says that there is no end game for life. So sometimes I believe that the question of purpose is asked too much, and in a manner as if you don't have one very clear purpose, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Life is its own end game.
Exactly.
Life is the purpose. Being alive, being useful is its own purpose. And what's wrong if you don't find it as one thing, but to say we are work in progress.
And also, you just mentioned the purpose of life can only be, just enjoy and do whatever you're doing 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever
it is.
Yes. While we are talking about this, there's a chapter, and there's a big chapter that you have written about the coach. That reminds me that Kabir had a teacher, his guru, Ramananda.
That's right.
Yeah. And the way he found his guru was, there are many stories to it, but the one that I know is that he went to Ramananda, and Ramananda didn't accept him from the gate. So if you want to say that story, you can, but this is what I know. And then he slept on the ghats of the Ganga, and early morning at 2:30 or 3, when Ramananda was walking towards the Ganga to have a bath is when he touched Kabir and he said Ram Ram, and that's what he picked up, and he said, you are my Guru and this is my Guru mantra. Yeah, this is Kabir. Yeah, and you have written about the coach. Yeah. The coach also is like a teacher, like a guru. What do you think? What your chapter talks about?
Kabir has written extensively on the subject of Guru, because he believes the right Guru will actually take your journey forward. A bad one will spoil the journey also. There are many good duas. Let me recite some good ones for you. तीरथ नहाए एक फल और साधु मिले फल चार. तीर्थ करने जाएंगे आप तो एक ही फल मिलेगा आपको, वो ये है कि आप मोक्ष की तरफ जाएंगे. लेकिन अगर अच्छा साधु मिल गया आपको तो उसके 4 फल हैं. ये जो जितने आपके 4 अवगुण हैं ये तो चारों चले जाएंगे. सतगुरु मिले अनेक फल कहे कबीर विचार. और सतगुरु मिल गए ना तो 4 नहीं अनंत फल मिलेंगे. Because the power of a guru is to transform you completely. Then there is no one objective. There is another one that I like. Guru bade hain Govind se man mein dekh vichar. Guru is bigger than God. If you think hard, you will figure this out. That Guru bade hain Govind se man mein dekh vichar. हरि सिरजे ते वार हैं, गुरु सिरजे ते पार. That if you get God, He will take care of your life. But if you get a good Guru, He will take care of all your lives. That's the power of having a great Guru. Maybe one more. Guru bin ज्ञान न उपजै, Guru bin mile na moksha. If you do not have a good teacher, if you do not have a good Guru, you won't find knowledge. You also won't find salvation. Guru bin jnana na upjay, Guru bin mile na moksha. Guru bin likhe na satya ko, aur Guru bin mite na dosh. Neither will you find truth without a Guru, nor will your imperfections get cleared and corrected without a Guru. So, you will not get truth, you will not get moksha, you will not get knowledge, and you will not be corrected. Nothing will happen if you do not have a good Guru. So, what he benefited from Ramananda, maybe he wanted others to benefit.
You tell our audience today how to find the right Guru. Because I've heard when the disciple is ready, the Guru appears. So, how to be ready and how to find the right Guru?
I have an answer to one of those questions. Okay. I don't have the answer to the other.
Okay.
And these are my answers. How to be ready? That can be answered. How to find a good Guru? I don't think I have an answer. But let me see what I can share.
I just want to add to that. Once you get ready, the Guru will appear, right?
That's right. That's right.
So how to be ready?
How to be ready. I think the first thing that you must reach at a stage is to say, like everybody else in this universe, you also need help. No human being born is so perfect that there is no space for improvement, there is no space for reflection, there is no space for knowing the dark abyss that lies inside your heart. The first step of being ready is acknowledgement that you can use some help.
Yeah.
The second step of that is to say that help may come from outside also. You may not be so self-sufficient on everything. The third stage of readiness is to accept that you may be part of the problem that you're facing. That all your grief and angst and angst and sorrows, maybe you are part of the problem. Maybe there is something that you are thinking or doing that is accentuating that problem. And somebody else will come and show you the mirror to say, hey buddy, looks like you are into the problem as much there is problem into you.
Exactly.
Once that happens, I think somewhere Guru will appear.
What is your view about leadership?
Complex subject. I think there is no other subject in modern management that has been opined upon so much, written about so much, researched so much, as is the subject of leadership. And in my mind, there are two interesting parallels to it. One way is we watch great leaders distill the learnings from their experience and how they managed to reach the heights that they did. And we believe that if we can replicate those principles, then lo behold, anybody can become a good leader. Some truth there for sure. Parallelly, there is also academic research that is happening on the subject of leadership, cutting across organizations, surveying people, finding the voice of people who get influenced by leadership. Again, distilling some wisdom from it and saying, if we can do these 5 things, probably anybody can become a learner. Therefore, attempt in management literature is to make leadership learnable. Is there some truth in it? Maybe yes. But I also believe that over and above the learnability of leadership, there is also a dimension of leadership which is extremely personal. The space from which a human being operates is a huge determinant of how he or she comes across with his or her people. If you're coming from a space of abundance, it will show. If you're coming from a space of scarcity, that also will show. Yeah. If you're coming from a space of help, it will show. If you're coming from a space of the desire to enable a system and not search for your own glory only, that also will show.
True.
And there is no one thing that is leadership. It's multivariable. There is empathy, there is power, there is achievement orientation, there is integrity, there is courage. All of this put together in some unknown ratio is leadership.
Exactly. And what do you think about empathy? Do you think it is one of the important component of a leadership?
Perhaps the most important component of leadership, and perhaps the most difficult one to learn.
Why?
Because it comes from an extremely personal space. There must be some experiences that open your mind to the power of empathy. Empathy is finally what? Understanding how your shoe is pinching and feeling that at my level so that I can help you. Kabir wrote about prem, a loose equivalent of empathy, in so many of his dohas. In fact, in many dohas, Kabir says, Gyan important nahi hai, prem important hai.
Is prem also is empathy or compassion?
Maybe
they are same actually.
Combination of same. And of course, prem is an all-encompassing word. Kabir says, you are not alive if you do not have prem. Gyan hathoda hai. Prem maram hai.
Yeah.
In one of his dohas, he says, जा घट प्रेम न संचरे, सो घट जान मसान. जिस शरीर में प्रेम नहीं है वो शमशान जैसी है. जा घट प्रेम न संचरे, सो घट जान मसान. जैसे खाल लोहार की, श्वास लेत बिन प्राण. जैसे लोहार की जो पाइप है जिससे को फूंक रहा है और लेदर का वो जो बॉल है उसमें हवा तो भर रही है, वो हवा है लेकिन उसमें प्राण नहीं है. प्रेम वैसा है जैसे खाल लोहार की, श्वास लेत बिन प्राण. कि वो सांस तो ले रही है वो पाइप, लेकिन प्राण नहीं है उसमें. तो आप भी वैसे ही हो जाएंगे अगर प्रेम नहीं है. श्वास तो ले रहे हैं लेकिन प्राण नहीं बचेंगे आप. दैट्स द पावर ऑफ प्रेम, empathy in the writings of Kabir. And as I said, he actually looked down upon Gyan in many ways. I feel in one of his dohas he says, Kabir पढ़ना दूर कर, अति पढ़ना संसार. ये हमेशा ज्ञान और पढ़ाई और समझने की कोशिश बंद कीजिए. आप बहुत ज़्यादा समझने में समय व्यर्थ मत कीजिए. कबीर पढ़ना बंद कर, अति पढ़ना संसार. पीर न आपजे जीव की, क्यों पावे करतार. अगर दूसरे जीव की पीड़ा ही नहीं समझ में आई आपको, दूसरे जीव का दर्द नहीं समझ में आया, तो भगवान कैसे पाएंगे. पहले दूसरे जीव अपने साथ के लोगों का दर्द तो समझिए, फिर भगवान मिलेंगे. दैट्स द पावर ऑफ एम्पैथी एंड प्रेम he has in his writings.
There's another one which I really like, and I would like you to explain. पोथी पढ़ पढ़ जग मुआ,
पंडित भया न कोय, ढाई आखर प्रेम का, पढ़े सो पंडित होए. Says if you are reading too many books and you are spending too much of time in acquiring knowledge, what is the use of it if it is not serving other human beings? And if you just understand the 2.5 alphabets of the word prem, that itself is worth the world's knowledge. Knowledge doesn't heal. Knowledge does not cure. Knowledge does not help. Prem helps. Prem heals. Prem cures.
I have two things here. People will always remember not what you told them, what is said, but how you made them feel.
True.
Yeah, this is one. But also another thing, there are 3 parts to Gyan, Bhakti, and there is Karma. So, Gyan is equally important, right? And this Prem is coming out of Bhakti. Yeah? And when you said serve, is coming out of Karma that one does. So, isn't that Gyan is also equally important?
Now, if I give the impression that Gyan is not important, then let me correct myself. Only Gyan is not enough.
Exactly.
Gyan must have in itself, at its soul, at its center, compassion, prem, empathy. Then that Gyan is useful.
Now, one of my favorites, when you said empathy, and this is Kabir's doha, ऐसी बानी बोलिए, मन का आपा खोए,
औरन को शीतल करे, आप हो शीतल होए. Yeah, it's a beautiful doha. ऐसी बानी बोलिए, मन का आपा खोए, औरन को शीतल करे, आप हो शीतल होए. Your voice and your words should be soft, filled with love, compassion, empathy, that it not only soothes you, but it also soothes everybody who listen to that voice and words. What is the point of using words and the style of speaking that hurts people, offends people? There is no magic in it. Kabir says, बाणी ऐसी होनी चाहिए, आपकी वॉइस ऐसी होनी चाहिए जो सभी को खुश रखे, खुश करे. Yes, and it is not easy to be Kabir either. Who said it was easy?
Yeah. So how does one acquire the skill of being empathetic or being compassionate?
I don't think it is a skill. When you say something is a skill, you almost give the impression it's some kind of a toolkit. I think it's a way of life. You realize that in the long run, what works and what works perfectly is something which is based on compassion and care. Sure, there are moments when you lose your temper. Sure, there are moments when you would like to raise your voice.
And it's okay.
And it's fine. But if that is your default, if that's the only way you know how to get the job done,
then it's a problem.
Then it's a problem. Even when voice is raised, is the voice in control of you or are you in control of the voice? So I believe if anger is for a purpose and you control it, if it is possible, fine, use it once in a while. That can't be your default option. Human beings don't respond to fear very well. We don't respond to fear very well. We don't respond to threat very well. Why do we believe that others will respond to threat and fear very well? The rules that apply on us, we must be wise enough to know that they also apply to others.
Kabir has been very courageous during his times. So what does he say about being courageous in present times?
First thing first, Kabir's life story is a commentary on courage. He questioned every established orthodoxy of his times, every religious practice of his times, every belief system, so to speak, of his times. And I think one of the greatest lessons from Kabir's life must be that of courage, fearlessness. If I have a point of view, I will express it irrespective of the fear of consequences. It is not surprising that he has also written a lot about who is Veer, who is Sura. Sura is a Hindi word for Shurveer. Who is the brave one? So many dohas he has written. And let me maybe share one with you. Sura soi sarahiye lade deen ke het. Let us call him the brave one who fights for the impoverished and the downtrodden. Purja kat mare tabhu na chhade khet. Even if he is broken into pieces, he does not leave the path that he has chosen for himself, which is to protect the weak and the downtrodden. And then he says, Sir saate ka kaam hai, so suran ka kaam. To be a brave heart means the job is to constantly be ready to give your head, be chopped off, sacrifice yourself, and not be worried about consequences. That's the nature of bravery, not to be concerned with consequences. सिर साटे का खेल है सो सुरन का काम, पहले मरना आग में फिर कहना राम. First do your job of what you are protecting, then go and talk about bhakti and God and everything else. So bravery is not everybody's cup of tea. That's Kabir for you.
Yeah. And I also hear you say that being courageous is always for the others.
100%. Being courageous for self is selfishness.
Yeah. And like during his times, the way he was put in front of the wild elephant, he was thrown from the cliff
Yes.
And nothing happened to him.
Yes.
Because he was reciting the Guru mantra that was given to him by his
Guru.
Yeah. So being courageous is always for the others. And that really brings me to ask you this question that Ramana Maharshi, he said, dive deeper into the question, who am I? Yeah. What does Kabir say about this?
Who am I has been a question that philosophers, saints, thinkers have been trying to answer from times immemorial. I'm sure Aristotle thought about this question. Socrates asked these questions. I mentioned Bulle Shah in one of his poems says, Bulla ki jana main kaun? Na main Atish, na main pond. So who am I has been a question on everybody's mind. Kabir also opined. At least I think that is perhaps one of the most existential poetry that he wrote. Of course, there is other dimensions of it in it also. It is also about where to find the divine. Divine as a metaphor for self. Because there is also a thought which says there is no duality between you and the divine. So, here it goes. Moko kahan dhoonde re bande, main to tere paas re. Oh human, where are you searching me outside, in places of worship, in mountains, in jungles? I am with you. Na tirath mein, na murat mein, na ekant nivas mein. I am not in pilgrimages. I am not in idols. I am not in privacy and solitude and meditation that you run away from everything and you're trying to search me as if you become alone, you will find me. Na mandir mein, na masjid mein, na Kabe Kailas mein. I am not in the established places of worship. Na main jap mein, na main tap mein, na main barat upas mein. I am not in this excessive show of religiosity. I am not in vrat and upvas. I will be hungry and suddenly I will attain God. When you will be hungry, you will be hungry. You won't find God. न मैं क्रिया कर्म में रहता, न ही जोग संन्यास में. I am not in rituals. I am not in penance. I am not in sadhana in that sense. I am not in sannyas either. So where am I? खोजिए होए तुरंत मिल जाऊं एक पल की तलाश में. If you are truly honest in your search for me, I will actually be found in a minute, in a second, in a moment. कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, मैं तो हूं विश्वास में. I am in your faith and your belief. मोको कहां ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे.
Lovely. Oh, that was wow.
That was wow.
So, your Vishwas in Kabir must have multitudely gone deeper with you. What has been your journey about this Vishwas?
No, you're absolutely right. I think I flirted with Kabir initially.
He's your beloved, huh?
Now he's my beloved. He answers most of my conundrums. He answers most of my questions. He answers most of the times when I don't know what's the right thing to do at this stage. And there are moments when I don't know, when I can't figure it out. Then the only realization I have is maybe I'm not yet ready to receive the grace and the wisdom of Kabir. There is still some work to be done.
Lovely. That was amazing, incredible. Yeah. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Gurucharan, for being here. Something that you want to tell the audience?
I think my only closing comment will be, just as I discovered the power of Kabir and his writings, I hope the last hour would encourage some of you to go and find meaning in the works that has survived for 800 years. See if it makes any sense to you, explore it, and if you find some help in the manner in which you lead your lives, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
so much.
having me over.
Thank you. I enjoyed this podcast and I'm sure you did too. Guru found his Kabir. I hope we have enough inspiration to find our own. Thank you. Thank you so much.